253 teams in 2 major classes means an entry of cars spanning more than 2 decades of competition for this year's Targa Tasmania. And there were some unusual star names in the driving seat too, including bike hero Mick Doohan.
I think unless we get lucky and some other people get some misfortunes, then I think it's a little bit over the top to start dreaming of winning or even in a podium position. But if we can put it in the top 10, I think all of us will be over the moon.
Doohan's nothing if not competitive, and the CLK cleaned the opening section of the rally. But heavy rain at the start of real competition meant the cars slithered all over the streets of Georgetown. Rally duo Neil Bates and Coral Taylor were giving away horsepower and 2 driven wheels in their Lexus, but still held a place in the top 10. Touring car champion Jim Richards took an early lead, the Team Grandpa entry deceptively quick in the wet weather. Next day though was bright and clear, and the crews began to settle into the rhythm of this long-haul event. Mick Doohan was getting to grips with his CLK and getting faster as the stages got progressively harder and harder.
We still want to just pretty much run safely and run conservatively, basically, but definitely we're starting to get more feel for the car and try and get as close to the stage times as we can, if not under them.
Another well-known driver with plenty of horsepower to play with, Peter Brock, was relishing the dry conditions. Jim Richards was still holding position as the event leader throughout the morning and into the much tougher afternoon stages, with Porsches also occupying 2nd and 3rd places. In the very full and busy Classic division, Kiwi John Kershaw's Vauxhall Chevette was leading over the RX-7 of Andrew McGuinness. In still improving conditions, the rally continued its journey around Tasmania, with Hobart its eventual destination. On drier roads, the big horsepower cars like Andrew Madecki's Viper ought to come into their own, and the crews were hoping for improvements. Doohan and the CLK had certainly improved, climbing 38 places from 55, was now placed 17th overall and getting better all the time as Doohan got himself and the big Mercedes dialed in to the local conditions. But Jim Richards was still leading easily, and it was still a parade of Porsches in the top 3. But as the pace picked up, not everyone managed to stay on the road. And with 5 days to go, there came the first sign of Porsche weakness, one retirement promoting the Viper up into 3rd place. And on a morning stage that's notoriously slippery, more retirements were the order of the day, although the Elise got away with it this time. It was retirement for the Falcon, and on the same corner, Richard Clark lost control of his Porsche 356. But it was going well for Doohan, now up 4 more places to 13th.
Mercedes is working quite good this morning. We've had no problems with it, and sort of got the taste for it a little bit yesterday, and we feel a lot better today.
Pre-event ambitions for a top 10 finish were definitely looking achievable as Doohan adjusted well to the Mercedes and started to make it work. He was helped up 1 more place as another Porsche retired from 2nd with a transmission problem that left it minus 3rd gear. Leader Jim Richards said his team only washed the car and topped up the screen wash each night. Tony Quinn had climbed to 2nd place ahead of the Viper now. Some people weren't having it all their own way, but Mick Doohan was starting to put pressure on the Mercedes CLK. But 9 kilometres later, the Mercedes had retired on its roof, the same corner as a Nissan Skyline GTR, which went into the trees.
Well, the initial reaction is the same, you know, when you're sort of going airborne on the bike or airborne in the car. There's things going through your mind what you really couldn't say on television, so that's all exactly the same. But you know, they're both the same really. A lot of the times on the bike you don't really get injured even though you do hit the ground, so pretty much the same thing. You know, thankfully we had the roll cage, we had all the safety gear, and we were able to just walk out of it, and neither of us have any injuries.
Event leader Jim Richards was now a minute and a half clear of opposition. His driving still smooth and relaxed, and still deceptively quick. Despite lacking horsepower and with only two-wheel drive in the wet at the start of the event, Neil Bates and Coral Taylor were up into the top 5. But as the rally reached its final destination in Hobart, it was already clear that Jim Richards was going to keep the lead he'd taken on the very first day, and which he'd maintained ever since, pulling steadily away from all the competition.